In this video we will see the intercostal muscles. So the intercostal space is between the ribs. So these are the two ribs and the space between them is the intercostal space. So the first muscle which we will see in this is the external intercostal muscle. So these are the fibers of external intercostal muscle. This external intercostal muscle, it is extending between the costochondral junction on the anterior side up to the tubercle of the rib on the posterior side. So this is the extension of the external intercostal muscle. So this external intercostal muscle on the anterior side, this gap is filled up by the anterior intercostal membrane, and posteriorly the gap between the tubercle of the rib and the transverse process is filled up by the superior costotransverse ligament. And this muscle arises from the lower border of the rib above, and it is inserted onto the outer lip of the upper border of the rib below. This is the external intercostal muscle. The direction of the fibers of this muscle are downwards, forwards and medially. So as we can see here, these are the fibers of external intercostal muscle, downwards, forwards and medially. Then next to it we will see the internal intercostal muscle. So this is the internal intercostal muscle. After reflecting this anterior intercostal membrane, which is a part of the external intercostal muscle, we will see this internal intercostal muscle. The identification of this muscle is by the direction of the fibers, that is, these fibers are running downwards, backwards and laterally. So this is the internal intercostal muscle. This internal intercostal muscle is extending from lateral aspect or lateral border of the sternum anteriorly up to the angle of the rib posteriorly. So this gap is filled up by the posterior intercostal membrane, which is a part of the internal intercostal muscle. The action of this muscle, which is between the cartilage, that is this intracartilaginous part of the internal intercostal muscle, is the elevation of the ribs, and the part of this muscle which is between the bones, that is the ribs, is the depression of the thoracic cage or depression of the ribs. These muscles are supplied by the intercostal nerves. So these intercostal nerves, these are running in the costal groove. For this we have reflected these muscles by giving an incision on the lower border of the rib. So this is our intercostal nerve. Deep to it we can see this is the pleura, which is the covering of the lungs. So the neurovascular bundle of this intercostal space is lying between the internal intercostal muscle, and this is the innermost intercostal muscle. So in between these two muscles we have the neurovascular plane where we can see the nerves and the vessels. So at the lower border of the costal groove we have this intercostal nerve which is supplying these muscles. The rest of the muscles are discussed in the next video.